It puts these countries on tenterhooks. It puts the war machines. The people have been trying to look for, I told you, people were hovering around this region to look for a new crisis where they can put their armies. They seem to have found one. That crisis was the ruling on 12th of October. Some of us are trying to do last-minute dash to see whether we can resurrect. Tomorrow, I will file another application. The problem with this court is that if you are not a state actor, I am a non-state actor, but I will notify the Security Council about the threat to peace. I will notify the registry about the threat to peace so that they don't read out this document. Because so far I've known what the document is. Don't ask me how I know it. So I'm an investigative journalist like me, Tawish. You can't expect me to fail to have friends. So it is not very good at all. Medium can bring us to date with facts.
All right. So the two East African neighbors, that is Kenya and Somalia, dispute 160,000 square kilometers of territory in the Indian Ocean with prospects of vast oil and gas deposits. The ICJ has scheduled October 12 for the verdict. In 2014, Somalia asked the ICJ to rule on the case after out-of-court negotiations between the two countries aimed at settling the dispute broke down. In February 2017, the court ruled it had the right to adjudicate the case as judges rejected Kenya's claim that a 2009 agreement between the neighbors amounted to a commitment to settle the matter out of court, stripping the ICJ of jurisdiction. In June 2019, the ICJ said public hearings will take place between September 9th and September 14th of the year, before pushing the start date to November 4th after granting a request by Kenya that said it needed time to recruit a new legal team. In Kenya's side, appealed in November dates, saying it needed up to a year. The ICJ then moved the hearings to June 2020, but Kenya then requested another postponement, this time citing the pandemic. The UN delayed the hearing till March 2021. In March 2020, Kenya announced, in March 2021, Kenya announced it will no longer participate in the court proceedings. The two countries have regularly taken retaliatory measures against each other in response to bilateral disputes. Somalia banned the importation of the narcotic plant Miraa from Kenya, which has cost its farmers millions of dollars. In May 2019, Somalia criticized Kenya for deporting two Somali legislators following their arrival at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Most recently, in December 2020, Somalia severed diplomatic relations with Kenya, alleging that Kenya's growing relationship with Somaliland and interference with jubilant political process amounted to undue intervention in Somalia's domestic affairs. And in just, I think, over a month ago, we saw the Prime Minister Roble come to Kenya and meet with the Kenyan president in an aim of reviving and rebuilding new diplomatic ties.
Thank you very much. Medium, from those, you can see the long journey. Finally, it has caught up with us. Tawish.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. Thank you, Sharon Gitonga, and Miriam Mugutu, and indeed everyone who is watching this program this morning. Indeed, Dr. Masanga, we should not have found ourselves where we are today in as far as the maritime dispute between Kenya and Somalia is concerned. This is a matter that should have been handled locally. We should have made diplomatic approaches between the two nations, Somalia and Kenya, to find an amicable solution to this particular maritime dispute. But it was unfortunate of Somalia to have headed to the International Court of Justice, that is ICJ, at The Hague, of course, to try and find a way forward on this particular matter. Just like Dr. Masanga, you've always spoken on various other topics relating to the same, that this is not going to provide a remedy or a long-lasting remedy to the volatile situation that is already there, or the impending volatile situation, assuming, of course, this verdict is going to come out, say, next month. Because again, Kenya and Somalia, each of these two nations really on a grandstanding mission. Each of them really want, they are claiming a part of this Indian waters. So how are we going then to navigate ourselves and get ourselves in out of these murky waters? One, Dr. Masanga, I think the suggestion you're putting forth, that probably the United Nations should take charge and see how we can constitute a mechanism upon which Kenya and Somalia can come together on one table and have a negotiated kind of approach, a diplomatic kind of approach, one which is going to be a win-win between Kenya and Somalia. But as it is today, if Somalia was to win at the ICJ, Kenya will protest. If Kenya was to win, Somalia will protest. In itself, therefore, Dr. Masanga, we will not be winning by the end of the day, because the animosity, the volatile situation resulting from this particular verdict is really one which we cannot evade. The only solution will be, let us have a UN negotiated approach where they can sanction, of course, any entity within the African context really to look into this problem. Because again, this is more like, this is a problem that you cannot just have a legal approach towards finding a solution. It is something that we need to sit down together with the Somalian counterparts as Kenyans so that we can find a way forward, one which the people of Somalia will be happy with, one which the Kenyan counterparts will be happy with. And when Kenya and Somalia are happy, I'm very sure even the neighboring countries, including Tanzania, Uganda, and others, will be very happy. Because again, this particular ruling, Dr. Masanga, if it goes in favor of either of the countries, has the potential really to upset the peace, stability, and security that we continue to enjoy today. And you can understand, of course, there's an aspect of the Al-Shabaab militias in Somalia who are also taking the advantage of this particular disagreement and in the fight between Kenya and Somalia on this front. Really, they will take advantage and make matters worse for these two nations and the neighboring nations, if not the African continent at large. So we should have a broader look into it, Dr. Masanga. We should continue to petition the United Nations to constitute a local mechanism in the sense that we have the African-oriented approach in finding a solution to this matter, and not where we are today at the ICJ. Whichever way the ICJ rules, Dr. Masanga, it will be a lose not only for Somalia, but for the two countries, Kenya and Somalia. For now, I submit, Dr.
Thank you very much. Whichever way it goes, what are the remedies? Sharon, you have a comment?
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Matanga and my fellow panelists. For me, what I would like to say is that whichever decision that is made, I pray that it is guided by equity and fairness, not necessarily with the distance of the continental shelf, because at the end of the day, we need peace, stability, and security. So that's what I can say for now. Thank you.
First of all, before you leave the platform, you as a Kenyan, what is equity?
Equalness.
Where? Honestly, have we been living together with Somalis, yes or not?
I think Somali has enjoyed, what I can say, Somali has enjoyed.
What has changed? No, we are now discussing, don't fear to talk. We are discussing. You might justify equity. If they said tonight or on 12th of October, they say the territory belongs to Somalia, what is your first impression or expression? You're a Kenyan.
Of course, I pray it doesn't get there because...
No. Don't stand. Are you standing in the middle? Sharon, don't. You are a patriotic Kenyan, born in Kenya, raised in Kenya.
Sharon
stands for the sovereignty of the state.
She's trying to be optimistic. She's hoping that, this problem can be solved. It doesn't escalate. I think that is her wish. It doesn't get to the levels where we have to see any military action.
Miriam, you are saving her. I was leading to a certain question.
Yeah, we don't want to push on the corner too much.
On the wall.
Yes.
On the corner. Okay.
Let's not do that.
Miriam, let me come to you, Miriam. Are you also optimistic?
Well, I am.
Do you think there is a good outcome for Kenya? You are Kenyan, and I hope any Somali official, anybody in Somalia could have come on the show to tell us what they think about this. But we don't have. But Miriam, take it. Well, what do you think yourself?
From the outcome, we are waiting to see what the outcome will be. Most likely, it might not be favorable for Kenya, but I think Kenya has a right to defend its territorial integrity. But I know that Kenya is a peace-loving country that would not want to, and we understand the position that we hold in this region. And I think whatever happens here, really, it's very important because it affects the rest of the region. So I believe that wisdom will prevail, and it will not get to the levels where Kenya has to be forced to use force to defend its territorial, integrity. Hopefully, it will not get to that level. That is my wish and prayer as a Kenya.
Tawish, what is your first impression or your expression? What would you say after the ruling?
One, Dr. Ray, I think first and foremost, the judges at the International Court of Justice must look into this particular matter with the objectivity that it deserves. One, that they are not going to be biased. They are not going to rule on this matter particularly because they favor Somalia or they favor Kenya. I think if they're going to do that, then the outcome of this particular ruling is one which is going to be received by both parties without any further protest or any rejection to that particular verdict. But like you've noted, Dr. Masanga, from the time these cases began at the ICJ, I mean, Kenya has registered a reservation and protest in the manner with which these cases have been handled. In fact, they hurried the haste with which Somalia actually took this matter to the ICJ without even exhausting all the local mechanisms, even including those which had been sanctioned by the African Union, AU, here at home in the African continent. So in itself, Dr. Masanga, even as we sit here today, I'm very certain that Kenya will not agree with the outcome or the verdict by the ICJ, more so if it rules against Kenya. And all indications are, Dr. Masanga, that the court is likely going to rule against Kenya or in favor of Somalia, understanding also that Kenya had actually written a protest letter to the ICJ that there's a conflict of interest, understanding that one of the judges at the International Court of Justice actually is a Somali, an origin from Somali. So in itself, Dr. Masanga, you cannot expect that in terms of the numbers, in terms of making a fair ruling, that it's going to be fair to Kenya, when one of the judges who really has a bigger say, the ICJ, will be likely ruling in favor or be giving an advisory opinion in favor of Somalia. So basically, as it is, Dr. Masanga, I do not expect anything good to come out of this court, especially for Kenya. The only solution will be let the UN intervene and let's have a local mechanism, a diplomatic approach where Somalia and Kenya through its leadership can sit down together and through also advocacy, using other mechanisms to see into it how we can find a solution to this problem. Sharon was speaking about equity. Equity, I think, maybe if I could just imagine what she was trying to say, probably is to say, if Kenya is protesting that these waters belong to them, and so is Somalia, maybe the best way forward will be to actually split the waters right in the middle and say, let Somalia take the other part and Kenya this other part. But are we ready really to get to those levels? I do not think so. By the end of the day, the people of Kenya want justice to be served. They want that which belongs to them to belong to them. If it's about the territorial boundaries, they do not want even an inch to be hived from them. So we do not want to escalate matters. We do not want to worsen matters in as far as our relationship between Somalia and Kenya is concerned. And this very specific matter of the maritime dispute, really, Dr. Masanga, has a very big ramification in as far as making sure that the cordial relationship that Kenya and Somalia have over time is going to continue, or is it going to deteriorate completely? Because again, this very dispute is very, very important. I submit a Daktari. Thank you.
All right.
Optimistic, even Tawish is not optimistic. Tawish, are you optimistic?
Absolutely not, Dr. Masanga. I'm not optimistic that we are going to find a solution if the ICJ way is the route that we are all rooting for. Unless there is a different intervention altogether, if we are all expecting that there's going to be a solution from ICJ ruling, I'd not expect anything good coming from that particular court, Dr. Masanga. In itself, therefore, it's not that I'm much more optimistic, only that I have a premonition that in case the ruling is made, either side will have to protest, and that does not portend well for either of the two nations. I submit.
I am a medium optimistic.
Myself.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
Optimistic in what regards that Kenya will, the ruling will be.
Yeah, I don't think, I think you have made your ground very clear. We left it too late, isn't it?
Yes.
So you are together with me, Tawish, and we leave out Sharon as an optimistic lady. Sharon, continue being optimistic.
Optimism is a good thing, but I think also Kenya, on one hand, we have ourselves to blame because there's before 2014 we had a period where we would have embraced, talks and dialogues, but I think we did not maximize on that and take advantage when Somalia was actually willing to have a conversation. So I don't know if we did not take them seriously that they could actually take us to the ICJ, but it's not too late. I think we'll just wait for the ICJ ruling now, but whichever way that will happen, even if it wins for Kenya, Somalia will not be very happy, and if it wins against Kenya, obviously Kenya will not be happy. So I think nobody stands to gain in this because at the end of the day, a good neighborliness, and I think is the best way for the both countries.
Okay. Can you wait for a shocker from me? And this is the shocker. The ruling will create a war. Yeah. There will be tension. There will be crisis. Both countries have been, at least I know Somalia has been arming itself with Turkish latest steel planes. You remember it has been training pilots. So for me, the best thing I would do between now and 12 is to push the United Nations Secretary General with yet another flag, red flag, to say that that ruling should not be done. Because the moment the ruling will be made, Miriam, I agree with you 100%. None of the countries, and I agree with Sharon, I agree also with Tawish. Sharon can be optimistic that there's equity. There has never been equity in international law. There has always been interests. There is no equity. Why were Americans in Afghanistan? What were they smoking? Marijuana and cocaine. After carrying enough for 20 years, storage and keeping it wherever they keep, their interests were finished. They said, Taliban's come quickly and occupy some of our latest planes. Leave them there. So the word interest replaces the word equity. There's no equity in international law at all, Sharon. And if your child, one day your daughter will think of, or your son will think of studying international relations, please persuade them not to. Because it's a subject that you either get a job in intelligence network or you go and hang. You get my point? So equity, where is the equity? Are telling me equity, which equity? What equity? It can't be there. Sharon, you are right. You hope equity would have come. This is not a British court which brings equity. In the British court, we would have got equity. Even in our own court in Nairobi, there would be no equity. You saw how the 7 judges did us a damage. Yesterday, I was being interviewed and somebody said, after the train went off the rail, you have been underground. You saw that on Cats. You saw the tape that had been hiding underwater. There is no equity in the world, Sharon. As you enter this field of journalism, equity becomes a mirage. I am expecting tears because I have already known the verdict, Miriam, from my sources. They will rule in favor of Somalia. They will ask Somalia to start engaging Kenya because they claim Kenya refused to come to the table at the time when they could come, but Kenya gave views. But what next step from here? The court has no court of appeal. It is final. Their statement cannot be erased unless by the Security Council. So the only route left for Kenya is to go in the Security Council, table this whole problem in the Security Council and say, we have a problem, we are fighting, we are pacifying Somalia, but to add another problem in the Indian Ocean will make the matters very complicated for the security in the region. Miriam, I submit.
All right, Doc, thank you. But the ICJ is part of the United Nations, arbitration network there. So the United
That's
Nations
why I'm telling you.
always respects the outcome in the ICJ. Or after that, Kenya can now go there to plead its case.
The International Criminal Court, Miriam, International Criminal Court, ICC, is the general. Do you know the general manager of ICC? Who is the general manager of ICC? Guterres.
It's a UN
Guterres.
Yes.
Who is the general manager of ICJ? Guterres. Kenya should have protested Guterres. Look at my letter there. I'm one person, a Pan-African Forum. I've protested. I'm on record. If a war breaks up in Indian Ocean, I am on record. Kenya Ministry of Foreign Affairs should not waste time, should have written to the Secretary General that this is not very good. But it has not done so. Have you seen any letter? Can you show me one, please? Show me, maybe there is one. My eyes, with age. Age is catching up. Although they say it's on them numbers. I agree with you. ICJ is also a UN body. But a UN body has a general manager, immediate manager of these bodies, of UNEP, UNDP, ICJ, UNICEF. Who is the general manager? Mr. Guterres. World Health Organization. Who is the general manager? All of them. The human rights, Geneva International Human Rights, what is the other one? Human Rights Organization, the Guterres. So if you are not satisfied with any of this, you move to the court. the office of the Secretary General, who should actually act quickly and tell the court, no, let's listen to you. And as Tawish was suggesting, put an arbitration, another UN arbitration panel. I don't know whether they can do it after the court has made a determination. So East or West, we expect what we did not want. And therefore for me, Miriam, after the ruling, I will only encourage Kenya to defend its territory. I'm sorry. Before you dismiss me, ask me.
Don't you think this is a case of betrayal from Somalia, given that the many sacrifices that we have given them?
You are now not becoming optimistic. Yes.
I'm trying to base my argument from what you have just said.
Yes. Indeed. A regime back in Somalia is not part and parcel of us. It doesn't care about Kenya anymore. They have diverted their children were here, they themselves were here, they have houses here, but they no longer respect Kenya at all. They have gone their own ways. So for me, after the ruling, as a military man, I ask Kenya to defend its territory. It might be harsh, but that's all I have done. Because I have not, I honestly, we have enough, Kenya has enough Marines, they can defend the territory. We have enough soldiers. And maybe the fury of Museveni's fury of now increasing more boots in Somalia to push whatever obstacle is there and create a new wave of systems of governance is the best way. Why don't we increase the troops and sweep out all the people who are not worthy? But for me, I will ask now Kenya to prepare itself to defend its territory. I'm not the commander-in-chief, but if I'm as an East African who has observed the events, I think Kenya will move in to defend its territory. I therefore thank you finally. Thank all of you. I submit. God bless you. Miriam, sorry for the delay. Thank you for the fruitful discussion that we have conducted this afternoon. God bless you. God bless everybody.
Thank you.
If there is anything, a military coup is in shape. It has been foiled, but there's a heavy fight taking place in Khartoum. The other winner could come up and announce. So let's leave it. I told you. I can even tell you where another one is in office. And don't ask me how. I'm not near the prophet Elijah's descendants. But Sharon will know that Mugo wa Kidhiro. Sharon, you know Mugo wa Kidhiro. You are from the mountain in Kenya. There was a man called Mugo wa Kidhiro. He used to predict some things and they come true. So there is another one very near. There's another one. Nigeria won't last. That's all I can tell you. There will be a military coup in Nigeria very soon. The events there are dictating towards me. Any student of international studies like me, who has studied international studies, are a member of International Institute of Strategic Studies, life member. Definitely don't tell me Tawishi, with that good haircut and like a Marines, are you going to fight in the Marines today? You will have it. You will know where it's going to happen. There is a coup. Nigeria will have, for Nigeria to settle, Buhari has got to be taught a lesson. So when it comes, give me things up. So thank you very much, Miriam. Unless there's something else, continue following up in your dispatches a foiled military coup in Sudan, Khartoum. Otherwise, from this end and from the other end, for Africa, by Africa, with Africa, by.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depend